G'day Bomber fans, we have got a trade update. There's already quite a bit going on today and this week. We've renewed our interest in one of our targets from the 2024 off-season. We've got a bit of a hold-up with the Brayden Fiorini trade. We're going to discuss that. Jade Gresham's manager has come out to address the rumours about him potentially being told to seek a move away. And of course, it isn't a trade update if we don't talk about Mr. Zachary Merrett. So let's get into it. Here is trade update number 300. So the big news out of today is, for the Bombers, is Riley Beveridge reporting that there is renewed interest in Gold Coast forward Ben Ainsworth. Obviously, this is a player that we were targeting pretty heavily last year when he was a restricted free agent. We don't know how big this interest is yet, by the way. We got to start off by saying that. But yeah, obviously last year he decided to shun that interest from the Bombers and other Victorian clubs and stay at Gold Coast. That move would have been very straightforward for the Victorian last year, but he's decided to really explore his options this year. He's seeking a move away from the club, and the Suns would be willing to facilitate a trade, obviously, that suits them. And that's the big question. What trade would suit Gold Coast? What is Ben Ainsworth's value? They're obviously in the hunt for some pretty big fish out there, Gold Coast. Christian Petrarca, Jamara Ugle-Hagan, and they wouldn't mind the extra assistance from draft picks that they get from a Ben Ainsworth trade. Carlton, before today, were really the only club to be looking into this heavily. They'd actually discussed what a trade could look like with the Suns. As I said before, Essendon are now in the race as well. We don't know to what extent. It's a tricky one. So he's contracted till 2028. He's 27 years old. That ups his value quite a bit. And whereas last year it is definitely worth the Bombers spending overs on him, as in actual money and salary, while he's a free agent. But in 2025, while he's contracted, a trade would need to be agreed upon. And that's where the Bombers have to be really careful. Some clubs are in a position where they can, throw away good draft picks. Carlton, for example, who are also in this race, they will need to move on any first rounders they get because they're actually one of a few clubs who's got highly rated players linked to them in the draft. Harry Dean is a father-son who will go inside the top 10. So they're a club that can throw away first rounders for a player like Ainsworth. Essendon can't. We need to hit the draft. We need to look for the future. Maybe things would change if we get a good deal for Zach Merrett, but that's a big if. And as it stands right now, we've got two very good draft picks, well inside the top 10. I'd hope the Bombers aren't using them for a player like Ainsworth, who, yes, is good. He's definitely an upgrade on what we've already got in that forward line, but he isn't the right age demographic to be giving up picks for, good picks for at least, and that's just my opinion. If it was something in the 20s, you could argue that could be okay, but I just think he would be quite an expensive player for what he is. He's someone as you attack as a free agent when you've got the money to overpay, but right now, I don't think we've got the picks to be throwing away on a player like Ben Ainsworth. No offense, Ben. But yeah, I'm pretty confident our draft end will remain strong up the top. I think the Blues are the ones to watch here. That's if he even moves. He's another tough one to really find value for in trade, though. Like, what is he worth? And let's say Ainsworth chooses the Dons and we trade for him. Some would say you could package him in the Fiorini deal. I don't think that would be the case. I think that deal would be separate to Brayden Fiorini. I wouldn't think the Bombers would be complicating the Fiorini deal given how easy a trade for him should be. But honestly, and I hope I'm wrong here, because I don't like the idea of us trading good picks for Ainsworth, but I don't think he will end up at the Bombers next year. I think there's a bit of interest. I think the Blues are really the ones to watch here. Speaking of the Gold Coast Suns, Brayden Fiorini. So he's obviously requested a trade to Essendon. I said before that it would be an easy trade to get done. I still think so. I thought it would have been done by now, to be honest. He chose Essendon as his destination 4 days ago, and a trade is yet to be agreed upon, which for an unrestricted free agent is interesting. It shows that the Suns aren't just going to accept any trade we throw at them, and that the Bombers are probably trying to be maybe a bit too cheeky with their offers. Now, Liam Pickering, Fiorini's manager, came out yesterday and said that a trade would get done. There was just some squabbling between the clubs over picks. He mentioned future picks, and he mentioned a future first. I struggle to see how a future first would be involved in a trade like this for Fiorini, unless Essendon are trying to move up the order this year at the same time and make this more than a Fiorini trade, but also a trade for one of those prized Suns selections early. Gold Coast right now have picks 7, 8, 15, and 18 in that first round. I'm sure the Bombers would be looking at trying to get their hands on one of those selections. We do have to remember, though, Gold Coast probably want a flexible draft hand before they get a deal done for Christian Petrarca. They don't want to be trading any of those first rounders Raiders away before they get Petrarca through the doors. So maybe that is holding up things a bit. Fiorini to Gold Coast, Fiorini to Essendon is just not a priority for the Suns right now. Even if it is just a future third or fourth, like Cal Toomey reported, that's not going to play a part in the bigger trades they're getting done. So yes, this is taking a bit longer than expected, but I wouldn't be worried at all. I think this trade gets done. Jade Gresham, I'm still getting quite a few comments about Gresham and whether or not the Bombers are putting him up for sale. Obviously, that was the rumour a few days ago, and it was a big enough rumour for Josh Gablich to directly ask Gresham's manager, Matt Bain, about. Same agency as Merrett, by the way, TGA Sports. Bain came out and said there was nothing to it, which I think we all kind of expected. I spoke about this the other day. It's pretty easy to spread a bunch of poopy nonsense this time of the year, and I think quite a few Essendon fans saw this going around, and I mean, it sounds mean, but probably got a bit excited. But yeah, Gresham will be with the Bombers next year. That is that's when his contract ends. He's out of contract in 2026, so he'll be one to watch next year. He would need to perform if he wants a renewal on top of that, but yeah, he'll have the extra year to do so. He's not going anywhere. Zach Merrett, we obviously have to talk about this. It isn't a trade update if we don't talk about Zach Merrett. There's still no real movement here. Glenn McFarlane did say that Tom Petoro was kind of playing middleman between the clubs, trying to get things going. That is very common for player managers, especially in deals like this, which are less openly communicated in. I don't know. But yeah, this is moving very slowly, which is fair. Merrett is yet to even request a trade, so it's obviously going to be moving slowly until he does that. The belief is that he will, but it may be, later on, maybe over the weekend when it's a bit quieter. No trade request yet, no official offer yet, but as the trade period has gone on, and this is interesting, we've kind of seen the deal negotiated a bit by those close to the trade in the media. So in this story, I'm looking at Tom Morris and Jay Clark. If they say something about this story, I'm listening, because those are two figures close to the story who've received leaks from it. I'm looking at what they say the value or what they're saying a trade could look like, because that's a decent indication as to what, Merrett's camp or what Hawthorn could be thinking about. Although the leaks have kind of stopped in the last few days a bit since that failed Tom Morris drug story, which was pretty funny. Now, Jay Clark did say that he doesn't expect a player to be involved, which is probably fair. Like, you look at the other deals around, Curnow, for example, there are players being discussed there already, and if we're to have a player come our way, I think that would probably need to be on the table very soon, out of respect to said player. Now, just a few days out of the trade period, a bit happening with that Curnow deal. Geelong reportedly offered 3 first-round picks for Curnow, next year's first round, 2027, and this year's first rounder. Carlton is set to turn that down, and the why I'm talking about that is because, I mean, Carlton want earlier picks. I think Clark even suggested that 2 top 12 picks would get the Merrett deal done. I don't even know if that would get the Curnow deal done. And I might be biased here, but I think there's probably more value in a club captain like Merrett over Charlie Curnow. But yeah, it shows you that, both these deals are really, really fragile. These players are worth well and truly overs. It's moving really slowly. Not a lot of action at all. If it does happen, it'll be late. It'll be late and quick. I still don't think it does. And before we bounce, we got to talk about this again, but Essendon this year have 2 NGA kids in Adam Sweid and Hussien Achkar. Now, the club are yet to commit to these players. The good news is, whereas for father-son players, you've got to commit before the draft, think Collingwood and Tom McGuan, they elected not to commit to that father-son. With NGA players, you don't have to. It's really relaxed for clubs. That being said, Essendon will be looking to move picks back into the later stages of this draft if they are to commit to these players. If that doesn't happen, if we enter the draft with the hand we've got now, we may not be taking them, or both of them at least. Now, with the news of Ainsworth, it is clear that the Dons are still seeking out ready-made small forwards. It's a really weak zone, and I think there's a real chance that Essendon maybe, on the back of this, choose not to take, maybe one of these players. I even look at Lockie Doveston early in the draft. If he was to be available with a pick at some stage, it wouldn't surprise me to see the Bombers pass on either Achkar or Sweid for Lockie Doveston because of his, his quality as a player. Just because a player, is tied to your club, it doesn't mean you take them. St Kilda in the past have done this quite a bit. They'd have NGA players that they just pass on because they like other options instead. Now, obviously, in an ideal world, I would want to bring both these guys in. I like the goodwill of the NGA system. It creates a good culture for those coming through the AFL system. But there is a big chance we end the trade period with a very, very good draft hand and not a lot of list spots available. And if that's the case, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see one of these guys maybe at another club. Not saying it will happen, just saying don't don't expect these guys to 100% be at the Bombers next year. The fact the Bombers haven't, started moving picks back suggests that maybe it's not even close to their top priority right now, which is fair given it is the trade period, not the draft. But that is all. Cheers for watching, Bomber fans. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed. Let me know what you think down below. Subscribe if you're new, and as always, go Bombers.